what you've done to your mother, Peter.
As a matter of fact, that's Lawrence.
No more room in hell. The dead will walk here.
Yo, what's up, Harbor Fiends? It's your boy, Ricky Grimes. I am back with my boys, the three corners of horror. I'm gonna introduce to you first the man, the myth, the legend. What up, JR?
Hey, sorry I missed the voyage, but now, man, what a tangle web we weave in. First, we try to figure out what the fuck we're trying to perceive. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting film, and yeah, see if we got all tangled up or it was just, I don't know, an empty nest.
Could have been worse. We could have been talking about Madam Web. Joe, the psychologist.
That's
What up,
very
son?
true.
How are
yeah,
you, brother?
we won't be doing Madam Web. That's a big no, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to this one. Because I like, movies that are a little bit unexpected. But did it turn out to be an itsy bitsy spider, or did it scare little Miss Muffet off her tuffet? We'll find out.
Growing up the water sprout. What we will be discussing is the 2023 film COBWEB, directed by Samuel Bowden, written by Chris Thomas Devlin. The film stars Lizzie Kaplan as Carol, Anthony Starr as Mark, Woody Norman as Peter, and Cleopatra Coleman as Miss Divine. An 8-year-old boy tries to investigate the mysterious knocking sounds that are coming from inside the walls of his house, unveiling a dark secret that his sinister parents have kept hidden from him. Let's get the party started, fellas. I am kind of interested in what you guys got to say about this one. I went in blind as a motherfucker. Before we start, this is a film here that the moment it starts, it tells you 2 weeks before Halloween, and that immediately, all right, I'm good, I'm hooked. Halloween, and you can see the pumpkins, you see autumn. I don't know anything about this film or where it was filmed, but I think that little introduction was pretty cool. But then it goes to the school, and I'm like, oh fuck, it's about a kid. Oh no. I didn't watch no trailers. I didn't look at the poster. I didn't read nothing. Just the title. And I knew Homelander was in it. That's the only thing I fucking knew about this movie. So naturally, I see a kid in a school. He gets bullied. I'm like, oh man, another movie where the kids get bullied. We'll talk about that. But it just seems so by the numbers at first. But as the movie goes along, yeah, the kid starts hearing suspicious noises in his room. There's a voice behind the walls, and of course, naturally, his parents don't believe him. And this is where we're gonna start. Joe, the psychologist, I'm gonna start with you. What the fuck did you think was going on?
From when I started watching the movie right off the bat, I knew that the parents were involved with something. So it was a matter of figuring out what. And then when they gave the story about what happened on Halloween and the reason they didn't want Peter to go out trick or treating, I was like, all right, so they killed the girl. And then you had the knocking, and I'm like, nope, the little girl's in the walls. So I had thought that the story, because I was trying to remember, did they say that they found the girl dead, or she's been missing?
Missing.
She's been missing. So she's been missing. So I thought that instead it was that they had kidnapped the girl, and the girl is, now hiding inside the walls. But as the movie goes on, you realize they're actually what they're hiding. There's a reason for it. But I enjoyed Lizzie Kaplan's role. Like she did creepy and like disturbed pretty well. She's in Mean Girls, and you guys know how much I love Mean Girls. So, and not just that, she was in Cloverfield.
That's where I first seen her.
Yeah, she's in Cloverfield. She was awesome in Masters of Sex. So she's been around for a while, and to see her, kind of hitting the horror roots again, it was nice. Homelander, my problem is, it's hard to get past that he's Homelander. So I just kind of felt it was Homelander, just not in his uniform.
You ain't lying.
That is my only problem with Anthony Starr being, in this role, and it's going to probably be one of those unfortunate things, especially when he wants to show, like when he's angry, because you're going to see his home. You're like, oh shit, you're going to blow up his head now, but you're not watching The Boys. But the parents, I mean, you like I said, I don't know, somehow just the way that the movie was going right off the bat, you knew that the parents had something to do with the missing girl. Now it's just a matter of watching the movie and finding out what exactly they did to be involved with the missing girl.
If you watch Castle Rock, this was Annie Wilkes' character. Which,
Yep.
if you don't know who Annie Wilkes is, obviously you never watched Misery, but she played a younger version of
Oh,
Annie
I can
Wilkes in
see it. I
Castle
can
Rock.
see it.
Yes, and she, if you watched it, it was almost I would say the same persona character, but she did it so well.
Close enough.
Yes, and it was like you knew once they told the story about the girl that they were involved somewhat because the way it was told, her character, the protective mother, don't tell him the story because he's gonna start knowing, and then the dad, well, he needs to find out because eventually he will find out. And I think what kind of like really showed it is that scene where, you know, spoiler alert, where he goes to the backyard and unearths the skull. So you
Yeah.
kind of knew the parents had something to do with it, but to know exactly what they were hiding, I kind of like the way it went in the film because it paced it very well to where it was finally revealed what was hiding. You're like, oh, all right, okay. Did it look cool? I will talk about that later. But for me, I didn't know what they were hiding. I enjoyed the pacing of it and the fact that the kid reminded me of a little Bill Skarsgård.
It kept me guessing from the very beginning, which I liked. The movie's not that long, and I like the fact that it did take a slow approach to everything, but it always kept you guessing. You were never really bored. You were always wondering because it always kept feeding you new nuggets. And
Yeah,
these nuggets make you think, okay, but every time you think, it kind of switches it around. Like you mentioned, the little girl went missing. Okay, like Joe said, she's in the walls. But no, she's not in the walls. She's buried in the garden. But then you find out why she's buried in the garden. But even that had some dishonesty attached to it, because obviously the girl in the walls was manipulating Peter into getting her out of that room. But we didn't know that at the time. We really did think she was a little girl in the walls. That was,
Yeah.
so I like the way that the film kept building and building, but every time it did build and gave you something, it also flipped it on its head and made you be like, wait a minute, I thought, okay, let's see where it goes. And it just kept going in different directions until at the very end, everything just comes together. Um, as far as the cast, I did enjoy the cast. I like the three. And you mentioned Homelander. It's crazy because when I saw this, I thought, oh man, it's gonna be weird seeing Homelander as like a dad and a good guy. But the way I think because he is Homelander and what the role required of him to do and be like, I think his casting was great because I didn't think Homelander, his character was scary.
yeah,
Even when he didn't do anything, he was just talking to his son, or when Mr. Vine comes over, and the way he's talking to her so calmly, and the mom, Lizzie Kaplan's character, Carol, she was the one that was unraveling, but Anthony Starr's character, the dad, Mark, what not the, I
yes.
think anyway, his character was calm, cool, and collected, but still menacing, and I think Anthony Starr can pull that like no other. So I can see why he was cast, but at the same time, I do agree it's hard to not see Homelander because he's such an asshole.
I did feel there was something that wasn't human behind the walls because it kind of gave you that feel to it. I mean, the way it talked and stuff, it kind of reminded me a little bit, and this is going to be probably a little bit of a stretch, but it reminded me a little bit of Charlotte's Web, where Charlotte always talked to him and pushed him because he had no confidence. He was always seen it as different, and then he was the voice of basically making. I forgot the name of the pig. What was the name of the pig in Charlotte's Web?
Wilbur.
Wilbur.
And
But Wilbur,
Charlotte was not evil.
she was not
I loved
evil,
Charlotte's
but I'm
Web. That's
saying it was kind of reminiscent to it where she's trying to build up Wilbur. and here is what's in the wall trying to build up Peter. Hey, go to school. Don't be afraid of him. And the fact that he was still hearing her from a distance, kind of like, you're like, oh, all right, that's a little pop, small
I
pop,
think no, I think
but
what
but
that was that's what
He
he
was
told him.
it was a
he was replaying
continuation of yeah,
He
it was
was thinking about
continuation.
that. Yeah.
the
Yeah,
conversation they had.
but you kind of knew something was up when she pushed him to do that to Peter. I mean, and that scene was just. I mean, you knew his leg was broken, which that's one of the great things in these movies where you go down like, oh man, this dude's leg is broken. It's gonna be some fucking deformed way, and he's like looking at it. It's like coming up this way, which is cool shot, cool scene.
It was a cool shot.
Joe, I'm gonna twist it up a bit for you since we kind of talked about this a little bit. But did you think there was something more supernatural or something more physical behind that wall?
I thought it was more physical.
Yeah.
Because, which we'll discuss soon, the supernatural parts didn't make sense. But other than that, I just thought it was I thought it was a girl that they've had basically in there. With all the movies we've seen, with the enclosure that she's been in, the descent, people will learn how to move around in small, tight spaces in a certain way. So I thought it was just all going to be just, again, the reveal of a kid, but I thought it was going to be the kid that has been missing.
Yeah. So Joe, if you can, give us a bit more of a background on the character behind the walls.
Well, as it turns out, as you guys said, it's their daughter. And you find out what her name is because when Peter is in the walls, he finds a teddy bear. And as he wipes like the dust, you see the name Sarah on there. So it's their child that they basically put in there. And she's been pretty pissed off because it turns out that when Sarah was born, I guess she had a bunch of deformities. When she told who she was to Peter, she said how, her parents screamed. She was a baby. I doubt she remembers that the parents screamed when they got a look at her. So, but either way, they basically locked her up. And this is where you have the parents have become the villains. And by the way, the movie is produced from the people who bought Barbarian. So, we're back in the enclosed things, so but yeah, it was, it's pretty fucked up what they had done to her. I kind of fucked up that she decided that Peter's the one that she wants, like it's not even his fault. Yes, he looked normal. Yes, the parents stood over, but again, he was just born, so her putting the anger towards him was also kind of a little bit off. She should have just been worried about the parents. And hey, let's be brother and sisters. I mean, I can't go outside, but at least let's hang out. Let me out of this wall. You know what I mean? Like, so
I don't blame Peter at all for going.
I don't.
Especially as a kid. The kid, their mentality is completely different than ours.
They are. And again, I'm as an adult, I'm thinking that, but as a child, and coming from a family, there's 6 of us. So there's always there's sometimes the levels of sibling jealousy, and one is the perfect one or the favorite one, so she's watching Peter grow up idyllic while she's locked up behind a wall. So I would understand, the sibling resentment. When she explains, I did like when she said that while you got to live in the house, I was with cobwebs and rats. And I do kind of like when a movie throws its title in there, not so much in your face, because when they first brought him down, when he got punished, all you saw were cobwebs. So I was like, all right, so this is where they're going to say some kind of like, you're going to sit down here with the cobwebs. But when she explained it, it tried to give the character a little more sympathy. But I mean, the little bitch was crazy. So it was kind of hard to get some real sympathy on her. One part and it was so small that I was not a fan of, was when Miss Divine had rescued Peter and they're walking out of the house and she grabs him and she pulls him away and then the door shuts. So she's telekinetic. Like, did she develop supernatural or mutant powers while she was in there. So like these little weird things that was able to happen kind of, I don't know, for me, distracted from the movie. They could have kept it just grounded. I can get the claws though, because again,
Yeah.
she's been, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, and she's been clawing her way through there. I mean, she used it to make a hole in the wall to be able to speak to him. But it was, again, the parents were the villains. I was right that they were hiding a girl in there, and they were hiding the fact that Sarah had killed the little girl.
They were villains, but they were not murderers, though, right?
They were not the murderers.
Right.
They were villains in the sense
I mean,
of
still equally as
putting
bad.
your
Keep,
child,
yeah,
putting,
yes,
yeah,
yes. I'm not,
putting your
I'm not,
child.
yeah, I'm not protecting that part. I'm not defending
That-
that, but yeah, I just want to make sure. I just want to bring up the point that they never murdered anyone. That's all.
No, they didn't murder anyone. What made them villains is their treatment of Sarah.
Oh yeah, equally,
You
that's
know-
just as bad, man. That's your own daughter, bro. Yeah.
And I can kind of get, because when they showed the way that she looked, which I kind of still, it left me with a question, like, how did she end up looking like that?
Deformity.
Yeah, it's a very strange looking. I mean, I can see some
It
deformities.
yeah, it
but
didn't really
this-
like a deformity.
It did.
What-
It looked lizard like. Like it made me think
Smirk.
of the ones
No,
from
it was more spider-like, not lizard-like. They made her perfect with the big eyes and.
See, and I saw the mouth and what's the name in one of the characters on Super Mario Brothers. You heard her screaming when she turned around. You saw that Sarah had grabbed Toby, and then you saw that basically, like, however she can move him, she had him up. He's like floating back, and then the door shut.
Yeah, I got you. I remember now. I remember now.
So
1000%.
that's it. And again, I'm not. It's. I'm
If
not
she grabbed
trying to
Toby, who closed
nitpick.
the door? You're saying.
Yes.
Thank you.
Got you.
So
You're right, you're right.
how does little things like that? Because then you're changing
That's a
like
plot
how
hole.
it's a plow hole.
It's a plot
So
hole.
that was it, and I get it was put in there to help intensify the scene, but how?
Nah, that's not cool. No, I agree. That's
It's
not cool.
not.
This character here, you said that you were not a fan of certain aspects of the visual appearance. So
Yes.
now tell us that and what else you think about the character.
Well, honestly, I would have preferred not seeing her face. Show her eyes, because the way her eyes was, I love it. But when they show, the problem I had is when they show her face a little bit, it looked like a big smile with just a whole row of teeth. And
Yeah.
that's what threw me off. And the thing is, it literally came down, start here, come down. It looked like a smile with a bunch of teeth, which that's not what I was expecting. I know you had said that you kind of want a spider like or something, because the movie is called Cobwebs. So you're assuming it's a spider like thing that's in the
I didn't
walls.
think of that.
And then the other plot holes that kind of threw me off in the film was, why did she wait till now to talk to him if she was in the walls this whole time?
Well, she
Why-
mentioned it.
all
She
these-
mentioned it. No, she said she waited for him to get strong enough to be able to move the clock.
Oh,
she
you're
I know
right.
she
She
said
did
that,
say
but
that.
it could have been
It's, I
something
mean, it's
where.
not the most plausible reason, but at least they did cover that base. Though, to be
But
fair.
this is the issue I had with it: is if she waited for him to move the clock, but the way she massacred the 4 people in there with the strength she had, she could have easily finished that hole she started in the wall.
Agreed.
Yeah,
for
that
me,
whole. You
that
know what's
was a-
funny?
That was a big issue for
I was
me.
ready. I thought Jared was gonna say, "Why did she not just break the lock?"
Yeah.
No, bro, she can't.
Miss-
The lock and the human being's flesh is different. But you're right. That
Hole
whole
in the wall. You already started, so
The- Miss-
technically you
Miss
could have
Divine-
continued.
Yeah, Miss Divine used a poker.
And what
made a
pissed
big
me off
hole with
about that, Mr. Vines used the poker, but not in the hole. She used it at the fresh
And
piece of.
Yeah,
Just
she's like,
kick- Just kept the hole. It's already broken. Just kick that shit. That's all.
But for me, it's like I had an issue with that. I agree with Joe. The supernatural element, you didn't need it.
I didn't even catch that. That's a good shout.
If you have somebody, I mean, granted too, and this is another thing that kind of, if you have somebody who's trapped in the wall this whole time, right? She's kept in there. I mean, obviously her vocabulary should have been a little bit limited, because I'm sure that the mom was the one who taught her. Mom was a teacher. I'm sure the mom didn't teach her anything, because just kept her in the wall. She should have been a little bit more feral like at the same time, with a limited vocabulary. I know they wanted to do it so she could talk to him and persuade him, which I liked it that, but at the same time, you have a child, and how long was she locked in there? Did he even say how long she's been locked up?
I mean, they didn't. I don't recall.
They
them
didn't
even
really
saying
say her age. We didn't even know her
Yeah.
age, what her age was.
Yeah, because
I
it had
mean-
to have been
You could assume she's a
Regardless, though,
teenager. You could
that's
assume,
irrelevant because she was locked. She was born that way. She was
right.
kept in a cage at first, and then when she got older, then they threw her on the walls. But they never went or elaborated into her age as far as when she went into that wall.
Yeah, because you figure they have her locked up. They have her basically secluded. They're not teaching her any vocabulary. They're not teaching her anything. But she spoke very well, which kind of was, it's just like I guess it's nitpicking a little bit, but it's just for me, it's like when you finally saw her, I wanted something more feral. And the time she was running, I thought it was pretty cool. There are certain scenes where with her character they look cool, but the minute I saw her crawling on the walls, I'm like, no, no, no,
That's
no,
the
no,
word.
no, 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 no.
Again.
Why? If you're gonna have her crawling on the walls, make the sound of the nails impaling into the walls.
Yeah.
Do something. I mean, I know you have to keep it quiet because then people will be like, oh, but that was a major problem I had because, yeah, she talked about she trained her body to move between the walls, but it's a
Like,
different thing where you're doing parkour type stuff
Yeah.
over basically just crawling on top of the walls. Because I mean, there were some scenes where she's in the corner, loved it, but for me, it's just like I wanted a little bit. I guess more. I mean, her kills were savage, and that's another thing. A lot of her kills were
On screen, it was
off screen. Don't do that.
No, I was okay with that because she
Some
just
of that, but some of them show. I mean, she should have shown like the piano one. Fuck that dude up. She dragged him on there. All she sees a big thing of blood. I wanted that dude to get destroyed
right.
because I like pianos. So. But it's just for me. It's like I would have preferred her eyes be the only thing that's shown because she has the long hair anyways. You don't have to show the rest of her face because that smile I just didn't like at all. Keep the eyes intact, and that door was small as hell. We talk about why that door was small as hell.
Because she was small when they first put her in.
Yeah.
When they first
so
put
it
it in,
was.
but yeah, it's just because then when she came out, you
And
expected
plus,
something small.
it also keep in mind it's a lot easier to hide if it's that small too. It's behind a clock. They don't. Why have a big door with a clock?
I mean, they hid the basement door pretty well.
Well, but that's a refrigerator. No one's
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
move a fridge.
yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm
but I
saying?
don't know.
Well-
For me, it's like because when the thing opened, I expected something small to come out, and when she came out, she was taller than Peter. I'm like,
Killed
all
her,
right.
yeah.
Well, and I mean, when she was crawling through the inside of the walls, that I thought, and I mean, obviously, I know it was CGI. It still looked pretty cool,
Yeah, it did
but it kept into when she's saying how she learned how to walk in there,
parkour.
but it doesn't again explain how she's just able to go up a wall.
I'm not saying this is plausible, but within the narrative structure of the horror film, she lives with the spiders and cobwebs. So she's gonna learn how to survive the way they do, learn how to move the way they do. Now that doesn't explain her face. I agree. I wish they would have kept her face hidden the entire time, never showed it. Because Joe, it's funny. Once they showed her face, the first thing I thought of was Demeter when they showed a CGI Dracula. I'm like, oh, come on, CGI face? Are you fucking kidding me? But thankfully, that was pretty much it. They didn't show her face much at all. Just that one point, which I agree with GR, that was a fail. They should never have even showed it. So I guess what I'm trying to say, I don't mind her crawling the walls. I like that they kept her hair really long because she couldn't cut it, obviously, and her nails are long because she can't cut her nails. As far as her learning to talk, again, it's a film, and you can't, especially a horror film, you got to take liberties with certain things because then, I think the way her evil voice was cool as hell. It was kind of spooky and creepy. I love the way they transitioned from the little girl voice to that voice. I enjoyed that a lot. So I guess those parts, which it is understandable why you guys didn't dig them, I loved them because it was just like the movie. It had a nice slow pace to it, but it was never boring. And I don't consider it like a slow burn, nothing like that. It was just the way it told the story. And then you got to the climax where all the action came. And I liked the fact that it kept the kills off screen because it showed you Sarah less. The less we saw of Sarah, the better. As you see, when we saw Sarah, it wasn't great.
Happy. All right, that's
It
a
wasn't
very
great.
good point there.
As long as the way when the guy walked into frame, he's missing his head. It looks so comical, but in a fun way. He slumps. I didn't need to see his head get cut off. I've seen that 1,000 and a million times before in films. But the way he just comes in, he's like whoop whoop whoop, and he falls and slumps, and his head's missing. And those segments didn't bother me because I think the less you saw of the villain, the better. Just heard the sound crawling around the walls. You don't know where she's gonna be at. So those parts didn't bother me because it's a horror movie. They gotta be a little bit implausible sometimes. Because we mentioned Barbarian, we loved it, but come on, half that shit is not plausible either. But we let it go because it's a horror film. It depends on how far they go with it now, you know. Now, like the part when she closed the door with her mind, yeah, you can't forgive that. If she's deformed, okay, cool, but they actually made her look like a spider in the face. You know, her eyes, because she lives in the dark, and you know your eyes gonna evolve to see in the dark. So them getting bigger, I'm
Yeah.
cool with that. But the big roll of teeth and stuff like that, yeah, that was a little bit too over the top. All right, closing thoughts time, Harbor Fiends, and let's get to this. I'm gonna go to you, GR, first. Anything else you want to mention? And give us your score, my brother.
All right, so when you do a creature design, don't try to do it similar to other things we've seen. Hulu has a movie called Grim Cuddy, same creature design. And if you're gonna do Baraka, I mean, at least do that little like talent, do a little blaze in the arms or something. I mean, you want to go
Fatality.
spider? Yeah. But I gotta be honest, this movie surprised me. I didn't know anything about this movie, and I've kind of like scrolled past this movie a couple times. But I like the way it began. It was one of those rare movies, horror movies that does so much character build. So what this movie did, it was character building movie, which you don't see much in horror movies, and I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a fan of character building, and you know, you have Anthony Starr, Homelander, playing Mark, and his presence was so well done in this film. Even that one scene where Miss Divine comes into the house and you know he invites her in for coffee. He goes, "Oh, you're bleeding." Eh, you know, nail.
He's bleeding
He's
all
like,
over the
he's
table right
just bleeding.
next to her.
And he gives her coffee. I mean,
And the shot of the hammer, because he's walking with that
yes,
hammer in his hand. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh fuck, she about to get
I
nailed with that
really,
hammer."
really did like that. Yeah.
yes. And Lizzie Kaplan's character, I mean, I love her. She's an amazing actress. She's very underrated.
Hmm.
Definitely
She
being
was
more horror
great in this
films.
movie.
Yeah,
She's yeah. Go watch Castle Rock. She plays a hell of a Annie Wilkes. Very well
he
done.
did.
You know, Little Bill Skarsgård, very good in this film. I
Mhm.
mean, his character was you felt for him, even the fact that you had a kid who poisoned his parents, and then the way that whole scene was done so masterfully. Oh, did you put something that tastes different?
Different.
Oh,
Let's talk about that for 1 second. I'm
yes,
glad you brought that up. I love the foreshadowing when they went, especially when Mark told them sometimes we do things we're not happy to do to protect our family. Peter's thinking he's protecting him and his sister. That's his
yeah.
family. So poisoning the parents with once I didn't know what was going on, and once can this does the food taste? It tastes different. And she's like, once she's like, and I was like, oh my god, she's gonna say cinnamon, and she said cinnamon. Oh shit, they're fucked. And that called me off. I didn't think they were gonna kill him like that early.
That was a
Yeah,
pretty cool. That was
That was
pretty cool.
cool.
That yeah,
very good
I did.
scene.
That was probably one of the best scenes because you remember he goes, "Stop playing with your food," and Peter's just like, "Ding,
And the way he
ding,
put it all together,
ding."
bro. He
Yes,
looked at his
Yeah.
food. He looked at the
He looked
shed was
around.
open,
Just
and
get
then he
rid-
asked him, and he said
Well, he
something.
looked at Peter's bowl first to realize Peter
Yeah.
hadn't touched a single drop, and then he looked at Peter and he's like,
I
"Son
saw.
of a."
He knew there. He's like, call 911 once he's like
The
went
funny
to
is
his
when he
sister.
grabbed him. He grabbed him. He goes, "What'd you do? You hurt my sister. What'd you say?"
That's what
What he
it
said?
was.
Yeah,
But
that
once
was.
he said that, that's when he
Oh
said,
my
"Yeah, call 911," because he knew we're done. We're
Yeah,
fucked.
Yeah.
yeah.
And the way she died too, because she's chasing up the stairs with a knife,
Mhm.
and he pushes her back, and she's still, you know, she was throwing up, pushed her back, and she lands, basically stabbing herself with the knife, which was another cool scene. But this movie, I know I nitpicked a couple of things, but I thought this movie was well done.
Okay, we all
I
did. Yeah.
mean, this
Yeah,
movie was it kept you on, and an hour and 28 minutes was good. And the thing is, I'm always looking at when the movie starts, you know, doing this turn, and right from the get go, right from the beginning, this movie caught you. And I love the way it was done. I mean, I like the fact that they held back a little bit on the Miss Divine character because I thought she was going to be in the movie a lot more. And you know, she was only in certain portions of the movie, which I like that because a lot of times you have a hero teacher that comes
well,
out of
because
nowhere.
it only takes a small one little person to care for you. So they
Yeah.
kept the character, like you said.
Yeah, but
Wasn't a big thing. It just showed it took one
I
little
liked her.
person.
Where was she from, Joe? You had mentioned that earlier, or off
Infinity
camera.
Pool. Infinity Pool.
What character was she in Infinity Pool? 'Cause I read
Um,
that and I was like, wait a minute, was she?
yeah,
Yeah,
she was at the resort with them. She was
she
one
was
of
part of their crew. Okay.
yeah. Yep.
Okay.
She's beautiful.
Yeah,
She's
she,
a very
she
good
was great
actress.
in this movie. She was great. I liked her a lot in this movie.
The whole casting in this movie was great. Even the
Yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
the little bully kid was well done. But yeah, this movie, I'm glad that this movie was recommended because I got the feeling we'd all passed over it over and over again, not watching it. But I'm glad we got to watch it. I'm a fan of the film. The casting is always, I mean, when you have a story building film, the casting is key to the story building. I mean, we've said that plenty of times where if you have a cast but a crap storyline is an issue, but when you have both of them, a good
Yeah.
storyline and a great cast,
I agree.
and the fact that it surrounded the three people mostly in this film, which kudos, that's the best thing to do. Keep it small, especially when you're building character. But I'm gonna give this a 4.
When I saw Sarah's face, just like you guys said, the eyes probably would have been enough. The smile killed me because I thought of the Bowser character in the Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo movie of
Oh, is that the
fucking
first
Super
time
Mario
we ever
Brothers.
had a comparison or reference to the Super Mario Brothers film?
I mean, well,
Holy
and like I
shit.
said, when it showed the smile and you saw the little teeth, I'm like, the fuck is Bowser doing in this movie? You shouldn't have scenes where a person can have some type of relevance because taking you out of a good movie is what messes up your
They
movie.
should have never showed her face.
No.
No.
You did not need it. You didn't need it.
Our favorite word when we describe it is the ambiguity of the
Yeah.
character. Seeing her just the way that she could move around, the hair thing. I thought the hair thing at first, because it was also utilized against her. I thought the hair thing was cool because you're right. She's been in the walls for so
Yeah,
long
it makes sense.
that
It makes sense.
her hair would be long as fuck
Mhm.
like that.
And ragged
Someone
too, like the way that
someone
hair
took
was.
attention to that detail. That same attention to detail for that should have been applied to other things.
Yeah.
But overall, enjoyed all the characters.
Yep.
JR, check out Peter as Toby on Demeter. He's actually a good character in that one too.
Oh, you ain't seen it yet, Jr?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, dude, check it
Yeah.
out. Yeah, it's fun.
Dude, seriously, after you watch it, check the review.
After.
We're going to 100% agree with
You're
you.
gonna agree, yeah.
Just watch everything else because unfortunately, what you're going to bitch about, just ignore that. The rest of the movie is actually pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think JR could separate the two.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
I know
Yeah.
JR. I know JR. And it's not a long film either. So 2 hours, right?
It is 2 hours.
It's 2 hours.
That's
It's
too hard
not-
done for me. If it's
I
so
know,
good.
but it's not a slow burn like the slow burns that you make us watch. Well, no, because remember, there's a couple in there, but it's
but
not
it's
too
interesting.
bad.
It's interesting though. It's
It's
good.
interesting.
I think JR would
but
like
yeah,
it. But he'll
you know,
have our
how-
same issues, I think.
Stephen, thank you for recommending the movie. Sorry you couldn't make it to do the review with us, but thank you for recommending this movie because, as JR said, I myself I've gone through Hulu and scrolled through it. No, keep going. So I'm glad I got a chance to watch it. A solid 4. Definitely recommend this movie.
And did you guys notice the name of the town was
Yes.
Holdenfield? Was that a nod to Haddonfield?
Haddonfield, yeah.
Right? It had to
Yes.
be, right?
Yes.
Come
I'm waiting for somebody to bring that up. Yes.
And the again, going back to the film's plot, it's a short film. It is slow, but in a good way because the film keeps keeping you guessing as to what's going on until the very last frame of the film. Which I think if that's how you're gonna do a slower film, and you build up this crescendo until the very end, I think they did a really good job with that. And I liked how they kept the sister hidden throughout the entire film, except for that one part when they showed her face. They try to be cool, like, look at this great design. No, bro, you fucking ruined the shot, man. Can you not do that next time? But I was also surprised how fast, or it felt like it wasn't, but it felt like it was fast. How like the parents thinking they were the main, protagonist along with Peter, the way they just got offed You know, it just came out of nowhere to me. Like, wait a minute, they're gone. Wait a minute, because once we mentioned it before, once we found out what was going on with the soup and the rat poison, I was like, they're done. They're gone. This is it. What the fuck? What's gonna happen with this movie now? So, I did all like that, and I did enjoy the creature. I did. I know you guys were talking about, it just didn't make sense with the way she climbed walls. It's like Spider-Man. I get it. Yes, I'm not gonna take nothing away from those criticisms, but on an individual level, for me, I could put that to the side because the story they were telling was she was in these walls for so long that she adapted. That's how I looked at it. It's a horror film, so it's not real to begin with. So they could take liberties like that, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. So, yeah, it's funny because I think I hyped up this movie during this review than you guys. But I'm gonna have the lowest score. I'm going 3.75. That's my score for this. I'm gonna explain why. Because as much as I enjoy this film, to me, it's not a movie that I'm not gonna go back and watch it. It's just not the kind of movie that I'm not a fan of children being the main protagonist in the movie. That's just my personal preference. That's not what I like. And to me, there's so many films that do that, and it's hard to separate them. I feel like aside from like the character of Sarah, it felt like I've seen this before many times until we get to that. But this movie actually did it better than 90% of the films that tried it. So it's a solid 4. I get that, but yeah, I'm gonna knock off points because it's not a film that blew me away. And I hold. If you watch the Demeter review, I hold the antagonist very like tight to the chest, and the fact that they use CGI on the character and especially the face. If they never showed that face and they kept her more hidden, I would have scored this a 4. Get a good makeup artist and create something that feels grounded in the film that you're telling. Real. And yeah, it's going to look real. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to tick you out like, oh, damn, that looks like a cartoon, But I love this film, though. Don't take, it's a 3.75 because of my little criticisms. But this film here, aside from the kid and the bullying, we've seen that so many times before. Another reason why I took off some points. I'm tired of seeing bullies in movies, especially when it comes to high school. And this wasn't high school, what was it? Grade school, right?
Middle school,
junior high, whatever it was.
Not just that, but it was bullying to have him fall down and knock down a pumpkin.
Let me tell you again. I thought of Halloween.
Thank you.
I thought of Halloween.
Do not ever mimic the smashing pumpkin in a horror movie with a child. It's fucking Halloween.
The moment Hector got fucked up, that killed me, bro. Anyway, I think this film is highly recommended. It's awesome. Check it out. Cobweb. Where did I watch? On Hulu. This is where I seen this, right? Fucking commercials too. God, dog. I'm not paying no more. I pay over $20 for my Disney Plus bundle. I ain't paying no more to watch fucking commercials. Let me tell you that. Or not to watch commercials. I don't watch Hulu that much anyway, so it is what it is. But yeah, if you get a chance, definitely give this movie a chance. It's awesome. The 3 leads do a fantastic job with what they're given. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It builds perfectly to the very end. And yeah, it's got some issues depending where you fall. If you don't like all the supernatural elements that were thrown in for no reason, you may not enjoy those parts as much. Steve, Poltergeist Guy, thank you, my brother. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of 3 Corners of Horror. I'm Ricky Grimes, JR the Boss, and Joe the Psychologist. Come back next week, everyone, for another episode here on Horror Fiend TV. With that being said, stay healthy, stay fine, stay sane, and most of all, stay out of the fucking basement. Stay scared.
Stay out of the walls, too.